Today in Turkey, after a meeting with Turkish President Erdogan, Vice President Mike Pence announced that he and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo negotiated a temporary ceasefire between Kurdish and Turkish forces in northern Syria near the Turkish border. The Turkish foreign minister immediately issued a statement saying, "This is not a ceasefire." The Turkish foreign minister said that Turkey was suspending its attacks so that the Kurds could completely retreat from the area in dispute. You can read thousands of words about this in the New York Times and other carefully reported journals that examine every detail. But what happened was economically summarized by Rachel in this tweet. She wrote, 1, Turkey wants to push the Kurds out of that part of Syria. 2, Trump gives them the okay to invade. 3, Pence brokers a deal in which the Kurds must get out of that part of Syria. 4, the U.S. agrees to unsanction Turkey. That's a deal, like being mugged is a deal. Joining us now is Brett McGurk, who served in national security positions under President Bush, Obama, and Trump, most recently as the envoy leading the global campaign to defeat ISIS. He is a senior foreign affairs analyst for MSNBC, and Ambassador Wendy Sherman is back with us. So, Brett McGurk, you get the question of the night. How did Rachel Maddow do in that tweet where she described so economically what has happened in Syria this week?
I think she has it about right.
There you go.
In a chain reaction crisis, a cascading crisis like we've been in, you want to try to buy some time. So I handed to the administration to scramble and try to buy some time. But in exchange for buying time to completely capitulate in a 13-point statement, which was basically written by the Turks, what it shows to me is the extreme duress under which the American side is negotiating. We're evacuating our facilities. We're bombing them as we leave. And President Trump gave away all of our leverage. He did that last December when he announced he wanted to leave Syria and that we were leaving Syria. So Putin knows we're leaving. Erdogan knows we're leaving. Assad knows we're leaving. The Iranians know we're leaving. And he compounded that by what he did on the night of October 6th after the call with Erdogan. And then we're now evacuating our positions. So we have no leverage. We have very little influence. We're bystanders. And the final deal will be cut in 5 days when Erdogan visits Putin in Moscow, unfortunately.
Let's listen to what Senator Mitt Romney said about this today.
The announcement today is being portrayed as a victory. It is far from a victory. The decision to abandon the Kurds violates one of our most sacred duties. It strikes at American honor. What we have done to the Kurds will stand as a blood stain in the annals of American history. Was there no chance for diplomacy? Are we so weak and so inept diplomatically that Turkey forced the hand of the United States of America? Turkey?
And Wendy Sherman, you have now pretty much seen just about everything Republican senators had to say on the Senate floor today about Turkey.
Well, I'm glad that Senator Romney made that statement. And indeed, we've heard from lots of our terrific military saying they're actually ashamed of what has gone on here and having to leave the Kurds behind. And as Brett pointed out, nobody knows the area as well as Brett McGurk does. We have totally capitulated. We have given Turkey everything they wanted. And most importantly, we've given Putin everything he's wanted. When Nancy Pelosi stood up in that photograph that you discussed at the beginning of tonight's show, she was ostensibly saying to the president, all roads lead to Putin. And on a day when you memorialized Elijah Cummings, who's from Baltimore, who stands up with moral courage, and Nancy Pelosi, who's from Baltimore, my hometown as well, these are two people who stand up for what is right. And President Trump has no idea who either of those people are, because he doesn't understand the values of standing with the people who were there for you. The Kurds were there for us. We're going to see the resurgence of ISIS. We are going to see Putin control Syria with Assad in many ways as his puppet. We are going to see Iran's more malign behavior in the neighborhood. We're going to see Israel more insecure. This deal that the president ostensibly got and said today, he even was quoted as saying that, Turkey had to clean out the border. That is genocidal language. That is ethnic cleansing language. For the President of the United States to stand up for genocide, that's not the America that we really are.
Here's the way the president put it tonight in his campaign rally to his rally audience. He said, sometimes you have to let them fight, like two kids in a lot. You have to let them fight, and then you pull them apart. Brett McGurk, your reaction to that?
You know, Lawrence, it's difficult for me because it's just obscene. And I served for 2 years in the Trump administration. I know the diplomats who are trying to work through this crisis that was precipitated by an impulsive decision by President Trump. That is a totally obscene thing to say. Over the last 10 days after the president's phone call with Erdogan, we've had about 200,000 civilians displaced from their homes. We've had hundreds of people killed. We've had innocent women pulled out of their car and murdered in cold blood by Turkish-backed opposition forces. So for the president of the United States to say that, you know, everybody is listening. I've been to Syria so many times, and particularly in these like war zone environments, everybody listens to the words of the President of the United States. And for him to say that is truly obscene. And we're not just letting them fight. We are evacuating Syria and blowing up our bases as we leave and handing over facilities to the Russians. So for the president to suggest that this is just kind of no big deal and this is all going according to plan is a joke. And I think Senator Romney has it right. And I fear that this is going to get worse. I think it's good that we bought some time, but Erdogan is on his way to Moscow, and we are now bystanders as we work to get out of Syria. So I think it's a pretty serious situation, and it's not likely to get better.
Brett McGurk, Wendy Sherman, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.